What is up, Gundam meisters and innovators? I am just a simple Newtype, and in this episode, we are beginning our coverage of Mobile Suit Gundam 00P. Last time in Gundam 00F, we learned about the Fresh Day team, a shadow celestial being operation under command of Charles Acoustica. Von Spark betrayed the team and went rogue. In Gundam 00I, Leaf recruited 6 Innovators. Leaf went up against Beside Pain, who transferred bodies. They ended up choosing Von Spark as their new 6th Innovate as a sort of checks and balance. This time we head back in time and look at the second generation of celestial being. 15 years before the events of Gundam 00, Commander Chal is just a kid and a celestial being pilot. She's been chosen by Veda, and we will see her first interaction with Hanayo. We are telling this story with the assumption that you have read 00I and 00F, so let's get into this. Grave is in a library of real books in a world where everything is digital. We have seen Grave during the events of 00I fighting against Beside in a flashback. He is caught up in deep thought and ignoring a colleague. He fancies himself a historian of the sorts. Grave is focusing on a report on the African region. He is a part of the Union Institute of Human History. Remember that the Union is the Americas, Australia, and Japan. Then, all of a sudden, something surges through his body. It is a voice. It downloads data into his brain. He has been awakened as an Innovate. If you didn't read 00I, it activates inside of you like a sleeper agent, retaining all of your memories while re-downloading your Innovate essence. He decides to finish the report before never returning back to the Institute again. Aeolia Schönberg had a bold vision that would require time beyond his own existence, so he created the quantum computer Veda. The Innovates were seeded throughout civilization, and some are activated to fulfill Veda's need. Grave has been assigned the role of scout for a few potential Innovates to activate. The first person he must scout is a woman in prison for murder. Veda has access to all data, but still requires human confrontation. This is where Innovates play a role for Veda. He seeks visitation with the woman. They are able to talk face to face. He says that he could potentially get her out of this situation. He wonders if she should betray the team. Her name is Marlene Vladdy. Grave thinks they should recruit her after having their conversation. The next person he visited was a mechanic that made work loaders. The mechanic declined. He doesn't want to make weapons of war. Many others try to recruit him as his skills seemed quite popular. Grave shows him a photo. It is the O Gundam, the next generation of mobile suits. This makes the mechanic's eyes widen and decides to join. His name is Ruido Resonance. The next person he visits is a high school girl who competed in power loader competition. She ended up making a weapon beyond the scope of the competition and was disqualified. He meets the young girl. They head to a cafe where he explains the situation. She agrees to join. Her name is Charles Acoustica, and she will be a Gundam Meister. The year is AD 2292, 15 years before Celestial Being makes itself known to the world. Chal and Ryudo meet each other for the first time. Ryudo welcomes her to Celestial Being. At L3 lays the space colony Krung Thep, which means City of Angels in Thai. This was made by Celestial Being. Although there are space colonies in this timeline, they are still relatively new, which is why there is so much focus on the space elevator. It is supposed to be a bridge to the space age. The Union has the most space colonies. Space elevators are still under construction during AD 2292. This led to the Solar Power War. Rito shows off Gundam Estrella to Chal. Of course, we saw this in action in 00F. However, here it is a brand new unit. It is named after the goddess of justice. Second generation mobile suits are named after tarot cards. Unlike tarot cards, there won't be 22 mobile suits. They currently only have this and O Gundam, as well as the Sadal suit. This Sadal suit isn't activated just yet. There's also only 5 GN drives in existence currently. At the moment, they are more concerned with keeping the GN drives a secret rather than making more and exposing their existence to the world. Of course, this all changes by the end of Season 1, when Veda purposely leaks the GN drives to the world in the form of GN Tau drives. Chal realizes that they aren't nearly at a level where they can make change just yet. Chal then meets Marlene Vladdy. They have her heart set to explode if she does anything crazy. Marlene knows she is just a tool to test the Gundam, unlike the others. Chal is starting to have doubts. She wonders if she could work with these people. The elevator has started its development. Soon, unlimited energy will bring forth a new space age. Gundam Sadal Suit is testing its movement and agility. This has many sensors for data collection. Sadal Suit is being piloted by Gundam Meister 874. This is Hanayo from 00F. She is 5 days into this test. They're testing the operational limits of the Gundam. Ryudo and Chal are working on Estrella. Ryudo is a Gundam Meister even though he comes from a mechanical background. He feels more comfortable working on mobile suits. Chal wonders why Marlene was chosen. She is reckless and pushes mobile suits to the limit. She is a mechanic's nightmare, but she might make the perfect test pilot. She is exempt from maintenance tasks unlike them and wonders if they should have someone on the team who doesn't really share their ideal. It just seems like she is trying to escape execution. Chal thinks, I really hate how chatty Ryudo is. I have to work with this guy? Damn. 874 will be returning today, and they will be able to meet her. They meet with Meister 874 in the monitor. She is wearing a school outfit just like Chal, and is even younger than her. She hajime mashtes and dozo the yoroshiku, and then just bails. Chal thinks that was weird. Why did we meet her on screen? Why is everyone here so weird? We know from 00F that 874 is an Innovate with no body. Innovates with no bodies are placed into Haros, which I assume it means all Haros we see in this universe are Innovates with no bodies. Kinda makes that one scene with the two Haros creepy then, huh? Gundam 00I proved that this can be done no problem. Ryudo is testing the Proto-Geon Sword and Geon Launcher on the Estrella. The Geon Launcher becomes what will be Virtue's Geon Bazooka. They can't risk going to Earth and being spotted, so Krung-Thep has terrestrial simulations. The Geon Sword tests went well, and they will move on to the Geon Launcher. Chal really wants to pilot the Gundam, but her Plutone isn't ready for testing. She feels useless currently. Ryudo decides to let her test the Geon Launcher on the Estrella. She heads out with the Geon Launcher. It takes some time to charge the weapon. It fires a blinding light, but suddenly an explosion. Geon particles started going off in the muzzle, and Geon particle density might be off. Luckily, the Gundam is designed for these kind of explosions. The launcher is even still intact, but Chal is panicking inside the cockpit. Ryudo tries to calm her down. 874 and Marlene come on the comm. Marlene calls him an idiot and to go save her. She finally begins calming down. Ryudo wants to use the Sadal suit to help her, but she don't need no man. Two Gundams face off against one another. Estrella is facing off against the fourth unit of the second generation, Plutone. Plutone has a few systems that become standard on the third generation Gundam. It has an ejection system for both the cockpit and the Geon drive. It also has a Geon field. The pilot of the Plutone in this test happens to be Marlene. Chal is disappointed that she wasn't chosen for her own Gundam. Because of this test, improvements were made on the Geon launcher. There was a leakage that helped improve efficiency once eliminated. The Geon field seemed unstable. To fix this, they used Geon composite armor, which brings stability, but it only focuses on the armor and ignores things like sensors and eye cameras. The next test is the fire on the chest of the Plutone. Estrella fires. It catches Marlene off guard. It almost causes her to lose consciousness. The cockpits need vast improvement to prevent concussive whiplash. The two return to Krung-Thep. The solar furnace stopped on Plutone. It goes into conservation mode. Chal welcomes them back. We learn that Ryudo didn't feel comfortable fighting against Chal because she is young, so she slaps him for the lack of trust. This is when the alarms go off. A ship is approaching Krung-Thep. Krung-Thep is technically a civilian colony that was built with the help of HRL. Mainly, it is industrialists and civilians coming and going with resources. Most don't know it is a front to develop the Gundams. Chal will go out in the Estrella, but Ryudo doesn't want her to. She hasn't considered that this might be the first time that she will have to kill someone. Ryudo will head out in Estrella. This realization washes over Chal for the first time. We learn that over the little time they've spent together, Chal seems to have feelings for Ryudo. HRL during this time doesn't really have any spacefaring mobile suits. There was no real struggle with the ship, and the battle was over quite fast. Ryudo is told by 874 to return to Krung-Thep. He wonders how many people were on that ship. The thought sticks with him. Once he is alone, he lets his false smile down. 874 is observing, watching his emotional reaction. Celestial being makes its way towards Earth. Chal is feeling uneasy while Ryudo is very laid back. Earth's gravity presses down on them. Marlene is going to be doing terrestrial testing in the new Abulhul. We broke down the Type F, but never the original. The GNY 003 Gundam Abulhul is a second-generation mobile suit and the predecessor to Gundam Kyrios. GN particles help control the stability of this unit. However, it struggles at high speeds on Earth due to air resistance. This unit can switch between MS mode and flight mode, even under gravity. This is the first mobile suit that can transform on the fly. Mobile suits during this time needed a mechanic to change its form. One feature unique to this unit is the verniers, which can switch between two different propulsion systems. Weapons include Geon Vulcans, a Geon beam saber, a Geon rifle in each arm, and an optional missile pod in the wing. This unit is connected to Veda. Marlene is indifferent to her upcoming trial runs. A few days later, they head towards Earth on a shuttle with Estrella, but not Chal's mobile suit. They pass by the HRL elevator Tenshu, still under construction. The world didn't unite with the orbital elevators. It just ended up consolidating power into three nations. There are phantoms in the area. 874 decides to go out in Estrella to handle them. The MSJ-04 Phantom is a mass production mobile suit by HRL during the 2290s. This was HRL's main weapon during the Solar Power Wars before they created the Tieten ground type. Unlike the Union and AEU, these mobile suits were heavier, giving them an advantage in power. This mobile suit was eventually retired, but the base of this unit will live on in the AMPH. Weapons include a 50 caliber smoothbore gun, a carbon sphere, and a shield. Ryoto is mad 874 is using his mobile suit. He tasted blood and wants more. Ultimately, it is Veda's decision. Even with heavy armor, the Phantons were no match for the Estrella's GN weapons. They are taken out in 36 seconds. They touch down on Earth and smell burnt flesh. Ah, so this is Earth. Marlene finds a child's toy in the wreckage. The powerless are always the ones who get caught up in these wars. Their resolve is stronger as they believe Gundams can truly end war. Even Marlene, the murderer, feels this sentiment. Before we start, we have to break down Estrella. I keep forgetting that the Type F from 00F is different from the base model. The GNY 001 Gundam Estrella was developed at Krung Thep for second-generation celestial beings, and served as a testing ground for much of what we see in the third generation. Like O Gundam, this is designed for general-purpose use. This will influence Gundam Exia. The clavicle antenna disperses GN particles. The Trans-Am system wasn't unlocked until AD 2308, but presumably these units would also activate as well. This unit is linked with Veda. Estrella tests the GN launcher, which becomes Gundam Virtue's GN bazooka. This can be configured as a double GN launcher or a quad cannon. Other weapons include the Proto GN sword, a GN beam saber, a test GN sword, a GN short blade, a GN long blade, and a GN shield. Meister 874 wonders if she is not human, as she doesn't fundamentally understand humans. Aeolia's plan is underway, but they need more people. 874 thinks that Veda will go with Innovators and thinks humans aren't necessary. That isn't her decision though. The AEU's orbital elevator provides underwater cables to transmit power. Their next mission is to monitor these cables. 874 heads out in a Sadal suit, while Ryoto heads out in Estrella. Ryoto will provide aerial defense against their likely enemies during this mission, the Hellion. The AEU 0592 AEU Hellion Initium is AEU's attempt at an aerial combat mobile suit. This unit was built with the help of Ian Vashti after building 04 from the ground up. They used the Union's Rialdo as a reference. This unit was a staple during the Solar Power Wars. These can't transform mid-battle and requires a mechanic to make the changes. Weapons include a 50 caliber smoothbore gun, a defense rod, and a sonic blade. Marlene wanted to go out and fought back, but eventually conceded to Ryoto. They launch. As expected, they ran into the Hellions. Their speed was faster than their beams, but after focusing, Ryoto was able to take some down. Due to their speed, it took longer than expected. Ryoto thinks about taking lives once again. He is a killer, he thinks. A vessel approaches. This contains both Ian Vashti and Dr. Joyce Marino. They saw the Gundam and think that they should kill them, but instead they decide to ask them to join their cause. Ian is amazed by the Gundam and wants to join at the thought of being able to work on the GN drives. There are mainly workers in space during this time. Many once in space are trapped there and forced to do grueling labor. Marlene was one of these workers while working out near Mars. The Mars tragedy occurred. A severe lung disease broke out amongst the workers. Marlene too was infected. Everyone around her died and there was no one else in this sector, until one man came to help. His name was Robark's dad. He came to space to create a better world for his family, mainly his son. This name may sound familiar because this is Fawn Spark's original name as well. Fawn is Robark's dad Jr. He is the son of this man helping Marlene. Robark saved Marlene that day. She was then convicted of murder, rather than the Union taking blame for an outbreak. Robark's dad eventually died as well, insinuating the Union killed him. This is when she received the message from Grave and joined Celestial Being. The Abulhul is finally completed. Hellions are deploying and Marlene gets to launch in her new mobile suit. Marino and Ian are now a part of their team. Marino tells Marlene of a small village that he once helped. He wants her to avoid the island, but she says Veda makes the calls. She reminds them that they can't save everyone who sees the Gundam, and that Ian and Marino are very lucky. Their mission goes as planned. She used her GN Vulcans to take out some Hellions. One tries to kamikaze, but Marlene stops them. She barely lands the Abulhul and is badly injured. Well, she helped protect the village at least. Marlene realizes she is a fool. Marino thinks to himself the explosion collar on Marlene's neck isn't because she is a criminal. It's because she's blindly passionate, even in the face of the cold and calculating logic of Veda. A celestial being didn't intervene in conflict during this time. Observers played a bigger role. We saw the Council of Observers in Season 1 of Gundam 00. Ribbons and Alejandro were originally observers before going rogue, and before the writer forgot about this plot point and also made him the O Gundam pilot. Ryudo is to launch and take out some Hellions. He is taking over from Marlene, who is still recovering from her injuries. He heads out in the Estrella. He fires on Hellions from above. The beam rifle Ryudo uses is on another level to the smoothbore guns. Linear weapons and beam tech won't happen for a while outside of Celestial Being. Celestial Being must have felt like gods for those first 30 years before humanity caught up with them. After the mission, Marlene meets with Ryudo. They tease one another before Ryudo eventually confesses his feelings for her. Later, Ian finds Chal sad and alone. She is super jelly of Ryudo and Marlene, and says that she can't be happy for them. The mission was a success, but the observers note that Veda doesn't record the emotional responses of the Gundam meisters. Veda isn't human, and this is an aspect where having humans help in the long run. They fix this problem by focusing on emotional stress of the pilots as a data point moving forward. Ryudo helps out with Ian in the hangar. He is beating around the bush, but Chal knows that he wants to ask Marlene to marry him. Chal never expressed her own feelings towards Ryudo. At this point, she is genuinely happy for them. It's time to plan a wedding. Surprisingly, 874 volunteered to pilot a shuttle for them. Marino and Ian were too busy. 874 being a pilot is the only contribution she can make, as she doesn't have a body. Although no one seems to know this yet. They got permission to take off Marlene's explosive collar, but in order to do that, they had to take Marlene off the team. She is mad that Ryudo made this decision for her, but he says it is quite the opposite. She is now free and welcome to become a celestial being if she likes, this time without the fear of death motivating her decision. The two embrace, because real Japanese men don't kiss ever for some reason, even if it's your wedding day. Several years have passed. Celestial Being is making moves towards a third generation. Ryudo and Marlene have welcomed in a new daughter. She has a real name, but to the organization she is called Felt Grace. Marlene focuses on raising Felt, but if an emergency ever broke out, she would pilot once again. Oh, foreshadowing. Marlene tells Chal that she needs to find her own path. Chal thinks perhaps she isn't cut out at being a Gundam Meister. Ryudo will most likely become a third-generation mobile suit pilot. They enjoy peace before war breaks out. An attack occurred at the HRL orbital elevator, leading to conflict. However, Veda decides to remain neutral in this situation. This isn't going to impact Veda's plans. The supercomputer doesn't expect the elevator to fall. AEU plans on delaying the HRL elevator through terror. The three Gundam Meisters want to intervene regardless of Veda's decision. They plan on overloading the GN condenser on the Plutone by luring in the enemy and letting it go off, disabling all enemy mobile suits. Chal would eject in the core fighter before any of this goes down. They don't quite know the effects of GN particles on the body at this time. Chal is thinking of retiring after this mission. They want to bring 874 in on this. Marlene wants to deploy as well. She will use the Abu'l. Ian and Marino are also brought into the plan. Marino is the only one who is opposed because of the effects of GN particles, but he is outnumbered. After telling 874, she says that Veda approves their mission. What a snitch. HRL has Phantons stationed at the elevator, but they don't have air superiority like AEU's Hellion. Suddenly, everyone's sensors on the battlefield goes black. The Gundam Meisters move in. The Estrella and the Abu'l buy time for Plutone. Chal moves in and triggers the overload. She ejects, but nothing happens. There must be a malfunction. Could this be Veda's doing? But Veda approved the mission, she thinks. Marlene and Ryudo come in to help. The Estrella uses its beam saber to try to get the core fighter out of the mobile suit. Chal tells him to get away. It is going to go off. Suddenly, the core fighter ejects and Chal blacks out. 874 watches on. The Gundams were perfectly fine, but there were no life signs from the pilots. For the first time ever, 874 felt something. She notes that Veda sends out O Gundam for recovery. Of course, we know this is Ribbons. Chal wakes up to Ian and Marino. Marino hands her Marlene's hairpin. He says, well, we learned a valuable lesson about how much GN particles the human body could take. Unfortunately, it was at the expense of Ryudo and Marlene's life. Chal cries for her comrades. She was debriefed on the situation and wonders who piloted O Gundam. The exposure to GN particles caused a mutation in her cells, which I think is the reasoning for why her hair is now white. She also damaged her left eye during the escape. Marlene's last words to Chal were, "You must live." Grave meets with 874. They need to recruit more Gundam Meisters. Veda still hasn't decided if they should choose humans or Innovators. The book notes that 874 is currently in the process of becoming an Innovate, so she wasn't secretly always an Innovate this whole time. Grave gives his condolences for the death of the previous Gundam Meisters. Grave was the one who chose them. 874 thinks that humans are too too gentle, but Veda has a new mission for them. They are considering bringing in more Innovators for the role. However, Grave gives 874 hope as he mentions there are humans being scouted for the 3rd generation. He says this is due to Innovators like Ribbon's Almark. There are many changes happening within Celestial Being. 874 is also starting to understand the nuance of humanity. Ending conflict isn't the only part of Aeolia's plan. It also requires all of humanity to become Innovators. This is a necessity if humanity ever wants to venture out into space and meet aliens. Luckily, the aliens ended up coming to us. Celestial Being are testing mobile suits. Currently piloting Gundam Rasiel is Grave. The GN-XXX Gundam Rasiel is a 3rd generation Gundam based off of O Gundam. It also uses data from Estrella. This was made years before Exia and the other Gundams of this generation. This uses O Gundam's GN drive as well. Ian Vashti installed a mouth vent along with adding a pair of GN verniers in the shoulders. Data from this mobile suit will go on to inspire 00. This has the 3rd gen optical camouflage along with the bit control system. Weapons include a GN beam rifle, a GN shield, and a pair of GN beam sabers. Hixar uses the black variant in 00F. Behind Grave is Hixar and the O Gundam. The year is AD 2302. The solar power wars have ended, leaving only 3 superstates. They are in the works of making Rasiel, Kidios, Exia, Natalie, and Dynamis. Rasiel's kept hidden from the rest. They finish their testing. Ian asks Grave questions about the mobile suit. Hixar joins in on the conversation. Grave has to report to Veda, but Hixar says where's the ladies at? The only women he gets to talk to are 874, who doesn't have a body, and Shawl, who is a sad girl right now. Celestial Being is not too far out from making their presence known. Grave has begun his new secret mission. He is to find new Gundam meisters. Grave and others thought that Innovators would be the pilots, but Veda chose humans. Veda seemed to be influenced by others. The first candidate is Lassie Aeon. This is their top candidate. Candidate 2 is Echo Calori. Oh, is it Calorie? Have I been saying it wrong this whole time? He has top skills, but is unreliable. Too bad it becomes a running joke that Echo never gets to pilot a Gundam in F. Forever cursed, Echo. The next candidate is Amy Zimbalist, who was in 00V. 00V is a bunch of short stories with images of MSVs. Maybe that will be covered one day. He is an exceptional Union pilot. Hixar says, Amy, yes, a young girl. Not realizing it is a man. When he learns of the news, he says, Amy's a girl's name. They hide the Rasiel using GN stealth and head into the city. Their next candidate is a super soldier from the Human Reform League with split personality. Hixar got an opportunity by Veda to scout some women. Grave seems to actually be using Hixar, and his mission is a distraction. Hixar buys some flowers while Graves finds a man called Shep Alwyn. Grave ends up slitting his throat, which is phase 1 of his plan. He heads back to the Rasiel knowing that this would flush out more enemies. Soon Tiedans converge and Rasiel handles business. Their thick armor is still no match for GN particle weapons. Phase 2 is complete. Shaw would move in and collect all the Tiedan scraps to remove any evidence of their existence. Grave meets up with Hixar. Hixar has failed, not realizing he was just looking for women as a distraction. Grave kept the lie going for a week before he eventually told the truth. In that week, Hixar wasn't able to convince a single woman anyways. Grave ran into Hellions during his scouting that not even Veda planned for. These are the upgraded Hellion mediums. The AEU-0500 AEU Hellion Medium was AEU's first upgrade to the Hellion since the Solar Power Wars, and serves as their mainstay till we see the main Hellion rollout. The jet engines don't differ too much from the Initium. This still needs a mechanic to change between mobile suit and flight mode. This is AEU's first mobile suit to use electromagnetic weapons, which include the linear rifle. Other weapons include a 360mm linear rocket launcher, a defense rod, and a sonic blade. There were 12 units. It isn't hard to kill 12 mobile suits with a Gundam, but it is hard to kill them before one of them uploads Gundam battle data. Grave says he has to finish this in 47 seconds. Each shot takes down a Hellion. He takes them all down in 46 seconds. After taking them out, Celestial Being responds to his emergency call. Chaw will help get rid of the parts. She distributes them through a black market. Grave has another mission while in the area. He is scouting out Neil DeLandy. He isn't supposed to make contact and just observes. While telling him, Hixar, Ian, and Marino in poor disguises join in the scouting. This is a breach of protocol as Grave should only know these candidates. They mention that Chal doesn't care because she is distant towards everyone since the loss of Ryudo and Marlene. Grave reports to Veda that Neil should be a Gundam Meister. They wonder about Lyle. but they shouldn't scout both at the same time as they have some brotherly tension. They will keep an eye on Lyle, however. Grave then looks into Lisa Kujo, who becomes Sumeragi. She is a brilliant tactician who lost her comrades in a past mission, but this was due to her commander pitting Lisa and Katie Manigan against each other. During a miscommunication, their comrades were mistaken for enemies. Lisa's lover was also one of the pilots who ended up dying. Grave meets Lisa in person. She is withdrawn completely and drinking heavily. She reminds Grave of Chal in her backstory. He decides to wait for her to heal her old wounds before recruiting her. Grave thinks that Hixar would love her tits. Oh, we all do, buddy. Chal is getting routine treatment from Marino after the incident. Marino says, check out my sunglasses. By the time Del Lo comes around, this will be my new look. Chal suffers from cell degradation, making regeneration impossible. This is exactly the same as Luis in her arm when exposed to G and Tau drives. 874 gave Marino nanomachines to give to Chal, which is slowly saving her. 874 has medical tech from Veda that is above and beyond Marino's knowledge, but he takes it in strides. It seems Chal is being tested on by Veda. He wants to know the science, but Veda only considers telling him the truth. Marino wants to make sure that what happened with Rito and Marlene doesn't happen again. Veda granted him permission, and he and Ian worked to create capsules that would prevent this in the future. 874 is looking at what will soon become her body. She needs one for armed intervention if she is going to become a third-generation pilot. For some reason, she had the thought that she would be taking a life if she took this body. This is weird logic, but it makes Veda create a new personality, which would become 887. There had to be an easier way to create a new Loli character. Seems convoluted. Before 887 was created, the HRL Super Soldier program went awry. The Institute covered up the incident. Grave was sent to investigate one of the super soldiers, who happens to be Alleluia. On the ground are two Titan variants called the Keto, the MSJ06Y3B, Titan Keto, also known as the Titan All-Region Trial Type, is a test mobile suit designed to function in various regions, including space, without changing its equipment. Neither the AEU nor the Union have this tech. It has a 500mm multi-step acceleration gun, which is just a giant smoothbore gun. Other weapons include a 200mm smoothbore gun and two 30mm machine guns. The pilots of the Titans are Delphine and Leonard. Rasiel uses the Gian stealth. Rialdos fly overhead. Grave has to find out if the Union captured the super soldier after escaping HRL. It seems that the leak was all a ploy to trap the Gundam. Back with celestial being Linda, Ian's wife, comes to visit. They are recently married, and everyone notices the age gap, bro. She brings the Gian Zephyr. The GNR 000 Gian Zephyr is the predecessor to the Gian Arms and is a mobile suit support weapon. This was made by Ian and Linda Vashti. These are powered by Gian condensers. This unit is capable of dispersing Gian particles. It is also very modular, as it can work with other pods and other Gian bits. The Gian proto-bits are the main weapon, and it is the first bit system used by Celestial Being. Each bit is armed with a beam gun and can work together to form objects like a shield. Other weapons include Gian Vulcans. We've seen the black variant in 00F. Hixar is ready to test this bad boy out. The Rialdos above the Rasiel start going down. It is the Zephyr. Hixar docks with the Gundam to form Zephyr Rasiel. The Gian XXX plus GNR 000 Zephyr Rasiel is the Zephyr docked with the Rasiel. This has 5 forms. Form 1 is 1 core block with 2 Gian proto bits. Form 2 is the same with the bits attached to the feet. Form 3 is 2 core blocks with 6 Gian proto bits. Form 4 is 1 core block and 6 to 10 bits. And Form 5 is 2 core blocks and 8 Gian proto bits. Each form requires you to stack on more Zephyrs. Weapons include a Gian beam rifle that can penetrate a Titan ground type, a Gian shield, which stores 2 Gian beam sabers, and of course the proto bits. Grave transformed into the third form, with Hixar as 2 Hatos controlling the other 2 Zephyrs, as you need 3 Zephyrs in the third form. While fighting the Rialdos, the 2 Titans move in. The Zephyr is hit and the 2 Hatos make fun of Hixar. The Hatos reject Hixar as their leader and begin following Grave. You just got betrayed by a basketball supercomputer. 874 sends in more Zephyrs so he can make a 4th form. This allows Rasiel to do a full-out bits assault. They corner the Titans, but then they retreat. In a rare occasion, they decide not to kill someone who has seen the Gundam. Leonard and Delphine were able to make their escape. The 2 were super soldiers. Next time, they proclaim that they will beat the mobile suit. Hixar flirts with Chal like he does with all of the ladies. So Chal says it must suck at being a support unit. Hixar failed at being a Gundam Meister and was put in support roles. She thought this would push him away, but it didn't faze him. Hixar says that he could just do the best with what he has. This inspires Chal to make a Black Ops unit of celestial being. Thus, Foreshte was born. Chal asks Hixar to scout out an AEU facility in Africa. Chal would go in disguise, while Hixar is in a Zephyr above scattering GN particles. Hixar complains about how easy this is. He instantly is shot down after saying this. AA guns were hidden near him. He was able to absorb the impact during the crash of the pod. The GN Zephyr self-destructs to prevent being spotted. He stumbles onto a cave and is shocked at what he sees. It is a factory making GN condensers. Hixar then runs into an Innovate. It is beside Pain. He says to Hixar that Veda can't know of this place just yet. Hixar suddenly passes out. Heading from Mars to the Earth sphere is the last piece of Aeolia's plan. It is Celestial Being, the mothership. On board the ship is Ribbon Zalmark. He is the one who convinced Veda to replace Innovate Meisters with humans. Although he didn't predict the Plutone incident, things are going according to his plan. And that will conclude Mobile Suit Gundam 00P Volume 1. After the death of her comrades, Chal finally found the purpose that Marlene told her to find. Ribbons has been scheming for years before Alejandro, and was always in control of the Celestial Being mothership. Next time in Volume 2, Grave meets Fawn Spark. 874 watches as Tieria tests Natalie, and they begin testing on Gundam Virtue. But that will do it for now, Newtypes. Remember, the best way to get over the death of your friends is to create a Black Ops team. Peace.